Hi, so I've chosen to do an activity practicing sentence stress with young learners from Catalonia. Okay, I've chosen to work with a group of 9-year-olds, and their L1s are Spanish and Catalan. Now, the reason I've chosen to work on sentence stress is because in Spanish and Catalan, it's a syllable-timed language, which means they give equal weight to each syllable, and so that not only means that when they pronounce it, they pronounce every syllable with equal weight, they also expect to hear every syllable pronounced equally. And of course in English as a stress time language this doesn't happen, and it can cause problems with listening as well as pronunciation. Okay, so I think it's really important to work on this from an early age, and I think 9-year-olds can cope with this quite well. We're studying present continuous at the moment, and I decided to use a song called Going to the Zoo from Project 2. Okay, it looks like this. I chose this song because the sentences follow the same grammatical patterns that they've been learning, and the rhythms are very similar to the natural rhythms of English speech. Okay, so we started off by talking about possible destinations for school excursions, what you could expect to see and do in each place, and this gave the song a strong, relatable context and activated their schemata. Okay, the students listened to the song and then answered some general comprehension questions, like what the students were doing, what they saw, who they were with, and so on. We then started the pronunciation work. So we looked at the first line, we're going to the zoo, and I asked the students to count the number of syllables that they could see. We then drilled the sentence, and I asked them to what syllables they heard most strongly, and for them to underline them. And we talked about whether we could hear all the syllables equally, or whether there were some that were stronger or weaker, and which the weak ones were and which the strong ones were. So did they have meaning? Were they meaning words, which of course would be the stressed syllables, and were they words? Of course, we didn't use meta-language like articles and prepositions, but we talked about them being sort of small words, less important words, and we ended up with something like this, where we'd underlined the sentences, but we also put in the schwa, and put a little linking signal there for them so that they can see where it's linked. I think it's important to introduce them to the schwa here because they'll see it again in the future, and it makes it easier for them to recognize the weak forms. But I didn't choose to transcribe the whole thing in phonemic script. I don't think that's suitable for their age. It's very overwhelming for them. Okay. So after talking about it and discussing it, we then took the next sentence. I gave it to them, we drilled it, and they marked it for, they kind of worked on their own, marking where they thought that the sentence stress was and where the weak forms were, and marked it with the schwa. And I checked it, we monitored it. Okay, so then we worked on the next two sentences. We did the same thing. So that was, we're getting on the bus and the teacher's counting us. And we peer drilled. So they worked in pairs, and they got a feeling for the stress, and they quite enjoyed it. They gave emphasis, stress, we exaggerated a bit. We slowed it down, we speeded it up. And they really, they responded very well. Okay, after that, we then worked on a kind of dictogloss activity. So they listened and wrote down the words that they heard of the next verse, and then in pairs they kind of filled in the gaps with the sort of grammar elements, so that they could work on the grammar of the present continuous. But I also felt this was very strongly linked to the phonological practice that we'd done. Okay, so we finally finished the song by singing the song freely with actions, and so we finished the lesson by singing the song freely with actions, and it ended on a high note. We had a lot of fun. It was good. It's a good song. Okay, so they were initially a little bit mystified by the process of the stress and unstressed. I think this was the first time they'd worked on it. But they soon got into it, and stronger learners like Roger and Julia helped the strugglers like Shia and Paul, and supported them quite well during the activities. They kind of gave strong explanations, working in open class and then checking in pairs worked very well. Julia and Nicole particularly enjoyed drawing, as they saw it, drawing on the sentences. They had fun with that. They were marking the stress, underlining the stress, and putting in the schwa. They all enjoyed the pair drilling activity, and they participated more enthusiastically than they normally do in open class drilling, so that was nice. I'll do that again. Showing that the meaning words have stress actually really, I think, felt really helped Shia, because she has a lot of trouble hearing and then writing sentences, and here she coped with the dictogloss activity a lot more confidently than she normally does. Okay, so I feel like I can use this kind of activity again, and I'm happy with the results. Thanks.